So literally right before I recorded the commentary for this video, Nintendo announced a Pokemon Nintendo Direct that's going to be coming out tomorrow. And I'm really hoping that we get a Pokemon Snap ride for the Switch, because today in Let's Build the Ultimate Theme Park, we are finally going to start our target shooting ride that is going to be a Pokemon Snap themed ride. So I downloaded all these Pokemon models made by Nacito. Thank you so much, Nacito, for uploading all of these amazing Pokemon models to the Steam Workshop. I appreciate it so much, and using them, I will hopefully create the best Pokemon ride that I possibly can. So here's the two new dueling RMC coasters we built last episode, and honestly, I think these are my new favorite coasters in the park. Just dueling coasters look so cool when they're side by side, and like every single element of them is like symmetrical. It just looks so sick, and some of these cinematic shots just get me so excited. And the location we're going to be placing this new Pokemon Snap ride is actually in between these coasters, because we have a pretty large slot of land, and I considered putting a coaster here, but I decided that the Pokemon Snap ride would be perfect for this area because it just extends so far and we can have quite a few different biomes. The first thing I want to point out is I'm trying to keep all the paths as close to the center of the park as possible, so we have all the stations kind of close to one another, and then all the rides are like branching out further into the park. That way the guests don't have to like be spread out too thin amongst the park. And I quickly drew up a map of how I want this ride to be laid out. So the station is going to be underground, underneath the stations of the coasters that we just built, the RMC coasters. And it's going to start off in a laboratory full of electric Pokemon. And then it's going to go up in a big spiral, and then go through a forest with a bunch of grass and flying Pokemon. It'll go through a cave with rock Pokemon, go around a volcano with fire Pokemon, and then it'll go down and around a lake full of water, and then last it'll go through an old like kind of haunted laboratory, and that'll be filled with ghost Pokemon and have like a final Mewtwo boss fight. So it's a pretty ambitious ride, probably one of the most ambitious in the park so far, but I am really excited because all of these Pokemon models that I have look so awesome, and I'm just excited for all of the things and scenes I'm going to be able to create with them. Scenery-wise, this ride might end up being one of the most detailed rides in the park completely. But it's also probably the first like full dark ride. I mean, we have that car ride over in the medieval area, but I wouldn't consider that a full dark ride, although that ride does have quite a bit of scenery too. That one took me a long time. I feel like that was probably the most boring part of the series, was working in that car ride, because it took so much time to build up that little village area, and I felt like it didn't make a lot of progress really quickly, but I was still putting in like tons of details. And if you like watch those videos, you kind of appreciate the medieval area, because it doesn't look super cool from a distance, but when you like see how detailed it is, you're like, okay, this is actually a lot more sick. Okay, so this is the interactive target shooting ride, and this thing is actually really cool. Now if you notice that arrow on the track that I'm placing, there's like an arrow that's pointing forward. You're able to control the direction that arrow is pointing, and wherever that arrow is pointing on the track is the direction that the car is going to be facing. So you can control whatever direction the vehicle that the guests are riding in is pointing, and you can make it go left and right, up and down, and swivel in all like tons of directions. And you pretty much just set keyframes to like what direction it's going to be pointing, and it smoothly switches between them, and it's a really cool experience. You can make some of the coolest interactive shooting rides in this. And then you place these targets along the track and you connect them to the ride, and the guests are able to shoot them and rack up points. And the best part is you can ride the ride yourself and use your mouse, and you can actually ride and play your own target shooting game. So pretty much what the plan is we're going to have all of these different biomes that the car is going to go through, and we're going to fill them up with Pokemon, and next to each Pokemon is going to be a target, and we're going to be giving the guests cameras, and if they shoot the targets, then it's pretty much going to replicate taking a picture of the Pokemon, like you're playing the Pokemon Snap game but in real life. Also, this is a complete side note, but I just wanted to like talk about something that happened this year that I haven't really mentioned anywhere yet. You might have seen this clip on Twitter or Instagram or on YouTube where my friend Munching Orange is at Venice Beach, and he asks somebody if they can name a Pokemon, and then this guy answers with Luigi.
Can you name one Pokemon for me?
Yes, I've heard of Pokemon. Okay. Luigi?
And it was actually really cool because this clip went viral and got like 6 million views on Twitter, and I was the person that filmed this video because me and Mo are pretty good friends, and we went to Venice Beach and I filmed and like helped to make a sign and everything, and we put that video together, and it was so cool to watch that clip go viral. I think that's the first thing I've been involved with that's gone viral. I've never had anything personally go viral, but now I can at least say I've had one thing that I've helped with go viral. Making videos like that is actually really fun. I want to start going out and making more videos out in public as well, because I like really want to push myself again outside of my comfort zone. I've vlogged in the past, but I haven't done much vlogging type of stuff recently. I think that like the one type of vlogging I'm most interested in though is theme park vlogs. I think that's like what I'm going to end up doing this year, because I'm planning on going like on a theme park trip if I can afford it. God willing, hopefully my YouTube channel does well enough to where I can afford to go on a theme park trip, so I can get a lot more inspiration for some of this theme park stuff I'm doing, because I really want to lean into like some of this Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo stuff this year, and I want to travel and get lots of inspiration and ideas and be able to just like make better and better theme parks, because I don't know, I kind of want to do this like the rest of my life possibly, because I'm really like loving every part of this. And we're doing lots of terraforming in this episode, because half of this ride is underground and the other half is like all walled off, so I was trying to make it so the roller coaster wasn't like too obtrusive, so I tried to keep the supports up higher by raising the terrain around the shooting ride. And the station is also going to be themed like a laboratory, because I'm going to have the line leading up to the ride kind of like go around some other Pokemon. I want to have like a Mewtwo kind of inside like a test tube, and maybe like a couple baby Mews. I just really like using the sci-fi scenery. It's like my favorite scenery set, and so if I can like have any excuse to use it, I'm going to, because I haven't used it in a long time, because most of the rides I've been building haven't had a sci-fi theme. But I like the sci-fi scenery because there's just a lot of different pieces, and the sci-fi scenery gives you the most potential for creativity and variety. So I'm legitimately pretty excited to like decorate all this area, because I'll be using my favorite scenery set again. Now I'll go ahead and admit that I'm not the biggest Pokemon fan. Like, I like the Pokemon games, but I just haven't like played them is what I mean. I've only beaten Pokemon Generation 1 and 2, so Fire Red and Heart Gold. I played like the remakes. But apart from that, I don't have a lot of other Pokemon experience. I just downloaded Pokemon Sword, and I really want to stream that over the next couple weeks, because I really want to start getting back into like streaming and doing Twitch stuff this year as well, because it's 2020 and I'm ready to just like buckle down. I've like transitioned into my new house, and I'm ready to like get my life back onto the track that I want it to be, and just being more consistent with everything that I do. And I think Pokemon is a good series for me to get more into. But like currently I don't know a whole lot. I definitely need to educate myself a bit more. And I did watch Detective Pikachu actually. I'd say this ride is actually going to feel a lot like Detective Pikachu, where we just see Pokemon in a real world environment. Oh, but that movie was so good. I love Ryan Reynolds so much. Such a funny man. Okay, so what I'm getting at is I actually don't know a whole lot about Pokemon, but like I know enough to make this ride. But I still want to have like lots of cool Easter eggs and stuff on the ride as well, so if any of you guys are like bigger Pokemon fans, and while watching me build this ride you can think of like anything that would make it a bit more true to the Pokemon universe, or anything I could just do better, or cool little Easter eggs I could add to the ride, then let me know down in the comment section, and I read all the comments, and I'll be able to like make changes and be able to improve the ride in any way possible. So in this little like semicircle area, I plan to make like a kind of Pokemon town square area, where this building I'm building right now is going to be a little Pokemon center. The station for the dueling RMC coaster, I'm going to make that a Pokemon gym. I haven't fully figured out how that's going to work yet, but I want to make it a Pokemon gym. We'll have a building next to it that's going to be the Pokemon entrance, and then I also want to do a Pokemart as well. That's going to be like a restaurant. So it's going to be a pretty cool little area, and I'm really excited for it to all flourish and look really nice. I'm really happy so many of the guests are coming back to this area of the park and riding the new rides and coaster. They're so cute. They're just like little ants, especially when the footage is sped up and they're all just like weaving around each other. I love how they have AI, and that allows them to like walk around each other and to all have their own like little specific paths, so it really looks natural and realistic. This game really has a really just good look to it. Even though it's a few years old, it still just looks phenomenal. This little like adventure / Egyptian theme back in this back corner is going to be a very, very small area. It's not going to take up much space, but I think it's okay to have some like smaller themed areas, because some of them are very, very large, like the sci-fi and medieval, and some of them can be a bit smaller in my opinion. Also like the pirate area, that area is pretty small as well. It's kind of like ties in some other stuff. I'm trying to remember all of the interactive shooting rides I've been on in my lifetime. The one I've been on the most is probably the one at $7 City, surprise, surprise. They have this ride where you're in a boat that's traveling through a flooded jail cell, and it's like through a cave, and there's like a bunch of bandits and stuff that are just like either hiding away or they're stuck in jail cells like trying to escape. It was a really It's honestly a really good ride, and there's tons of targets everywhere that activate a lot of different pieces. And that's something that I want to do on this shooting ride, is I want to have a lot of targets that make a lot of different objects and animatronics do different things, whether it be Pokemon movements, or I can like do special effects on Pokemon. So like if it's a fire Pokemon, if you take a picture of it, the fire around the Pokemon will like flare up, or if it's an electric Pokemon, there will be electric static or something. But then there will be other targets as well that just like move random inanimate objects. And something else I'm going to be doing is this shooting ride actually came as a part of the Ghostbusters pack, because there's this whole entire Ghostbusters DLC with this own little like cool campaign that I should honestly do a Let's Play of someday. And it comes with a lot of like really cool Ghostbuster animatronics that can be used as targets to shoot. And I'm going to also be placing those into the ride as well, because even though they aren't Pokemon, they look kind of weird enough to where they could be Pokemon, because there's like so many Pokemon, and Pokemon are such like a vague looking type of creature. So even though they're not Pokemon, like having them mixed in with all the other Pokemon, like you won't really be able to tell the difference, especially with like how quickly the whole entire ride moves and like how many things are happening. They fly around and it just looks really cool. So I think it really like will fill up the environment a lot more as well, because lots of the Pokemon don't actually move. They're not moving animatronics, they're just models. So having some of the ghosts fly around will kind of bring a little bit more life to the world to make it seem like there's Pokemon flying around, even though it's kind of just like an illusion. Another shooting ride I've been on is the one at Pixar Pier in California Adventure at Disneyland. It's the Toy Story one, and that one's a little bit different because there's not very many like animatronics and stuff. You don't go through environments. You're put in front of a ton of different screens. You'll go through, like, you'll be placed in front of a screen and you'll play like a mini game, and you'll be like in some environment and you shoot a bunch of stuff on the screen, and then it moves you along and you're in front of another screen. And from that ride, I think I'm going to take the idea of actually having some screen portions on this ride to like kind of fill in different environments and include pictures and video of Pokemon that I wasn't able to have models of, but we can still like feature and use to like kind of add even more detail in the future. Overall, wasn't a huge fan of the Toy Story one. It's not like as good as the one where you're going through actual environments, but it feels more like a really interactive video game than like an interactive ride. Another ride I'm going to draw some inspiration from for these laboratory sections is I just watched a POV of that new ride in Galaxy's Edge, Rise of the Resistance. It's like the Star Wars one, and it's a dark ride where you go through just like a live action Star Wars battle, and it's super duper sick. And so as far as like these laboratory sections, I kind of want to take some inspiration from some of those areas when creating some of the details, and there's enough pieces to where I can do that. Like I said, the sci-fi scenery set is by far my favorite scenery pack in this game, just because there's so many pieces and they go together so well, and you can make the most detailed looking environments that are so impressive. I think that's why the very first coaster I built, the Manhattan Project, is still like one of the most impressive rides in the park. It's just because I used the sci-fi scenery pieces, and I think this ride will be even more impressive because I'm a much better builder than I was at that point. There's a shooting ride at Knott's Berry Farm called Voyage to the Iron Reef that I haven't been on, but Troy told me that they just closed it down to remodel it into a new interactive shooting ride. So it's apparently one of the newer rides in the park and they're already remodeling it. But I guess it's just like one of those types of rides that after like 5 or 6 years, the technology in like interactive shooting, 3D and all that stuff like really progresses pretty quickly. So they're probably wanting to just like update the technology so it's actually impressive, because it's harder and harder to impress people with technology nowadays because we're so spoiled with all this new VR technology right in our homes. Ugh, Planet Coaster got a VR feature. That would be the most amazing thing ever. I feel like it can't be that hard to do. Just like, I don't know. It just seems like a camera setting almost, right? Like as long as you can have a camera that allows you to like look around, it should be able to work. Because it's not like there's any like mechanics. It would only be a camera feature. And we're finally getting some Pokemon in here, so I'm putting a Electabuzz, some Jolteons, and some Mr. Mimes in this room, along with some of the Ghostbusters ghosts just flying around, and they can seem like they're haunters or something, even though they're not. Like I said, they seem kind of like they're Pokemon, even though they're not. I'm going to have the Electabuzzes have some like electric panels underneath them, so whenever you shoot their target, they'll do like a Thunder Wave move attack where there'll be like electricity underneath them. And also, if you don't notice, the ghosts are like electric ghosts, so it definitely seems like they could be an electric Pokemon. And the thing is, we don't even know every single Pokemon in the world. They keep on adding new ones, so maybe it's just Pokemon for the ultimate theme park region. If we truly need some lore for these ghosts, then that's what we'll say. They're Pokemon from the Tuclanian region. So now it's time to start putting in the targets, and I'm going to color them to make them match the environment a little bit, because I don't want them to like stand out too much, because I still want things to have a nice aesthetic. And also, this room just looks so much better now that we have some like dynamic lighting in here. It makes such a big difference. Lighting is such a key factor, especially when you're doing film and music videos and stuff. You start to realize like how lighting is so much of everything. And I had to go through and pair the targets up to the ride. I had to connect them up. And then once you do that, you can connect an animatronic to a target. So whenever somebody shoots a target, a certain animatronic will go off. I had it so whenever you shoot one target, like some spark fly out of the computer, some of the other targets will make some lights come on to the Mr. Mimes and confetti will come out of them. Some other targets will make some of those lights like swivel around and make more lighting happen in the room. The ones by the Jolteons and Electabuzz will cause electricity effects to happen around them. And whenever you shoot the ghosts, I think they just like fall out of the air, so they are actual. Which I guess means we're not taking pictures of them. Maybe some of them. I guess it can kind of be like Fatal Frame. Those ghosts, we're attacking those ghosts with the camera because they're different. Sure, it's a Pokemon Fatal Frame crossover. This ride has tons of lore. It's all coming together perfectly. We can just have some like signs in the queue that explain exactly what the hell is going on. And you also might notice that this video is only about halfway over. Since it's been a while since the last episode, I decided that I really wanted to go all in and give you guys a lot this episode. So I get quite a bit done on this ride. I'm not going to fully finish it today, but we're going to get a majority of the way there. We'll probably have to work on it for like 2 more episodes after this, just because this ride is just going to be so large and I'm going to have so many details. But I get a lot done this episode, and finishing as much as I do really kind of like fleshes out this whole entire side of the park. And now we're starting the second room of the lab, which I kind of just want to put like a little model of Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory in here. If I can find one, or if someone can add one to the Steam Workshop, that would be amazing. I know that has nothing to do with Pokemon, but Dexter's Laboratory I think is like one of the best cartoons of all time, so it'd be cool just to have like a little reference. In Dexter's Laboratory. But in this room, we're going to have a Zapdos as the main focus in the center, and we're going to have it doing some cool effects, but we'll have some other Pokemon around it as well. And I really wanted to add some like cool details to this room as far as the lighting goes. And later I put in some like really cool floor textures because I really just wanted this room to stand out and look really sick. As far as scenery goes, I'm going to put more work into this ride than probably any ride in the park so far, because I really just want this ride to stand out and show off how cool this game can be. Because I feel like there needs to be a few rides in the park that just like go all in. I think the Zelda coaster is another example of a coaster that does that. So I'm going to go back to talking about Pokemon for a bit and talk about a bit more of my experience. So Pokemon Fire Red is a game that I've actually beaten quite a few times. I did a race, a versus of it, a couple years ago on my other channel, youtube.com/versus, and I would say I know that game pretty well. So Generation 1 of Pokemon I know fairly well. I would say I can at least name 3/4 of the Pokemon from that generation. And I probably know the names of all of them if I saw pictures. And I would say that as long as you know like Generation 1 and a majority of Generation 2, you're pretty solid as far as Pokemon knowledge goes. Like, you have a pretty firm grasp of like how the franchise works. And then I've seen like enough from some of the other games just from like seeing small videos or watching friends play for short periods of time. And I've told this story quite a few times, but the reason I didn't play Pokemon growing up was because I came from a really Christian family, and around the time I was growing up, there was like this big misconception that Pokemon was like evil and that you shouldn't play it. And so it was just like off limits in my house, and I was a pretty good kid at the time. So I just like listened to my parents and wouldn't play the games. And I tried to a couple times, and I actually got caught, and they made me like get rid of the game. So I just didn't try because they would punish me and ground me if they found out that I was. Also, I just want to quickly point out that the floor in this room, I kind of like based off of a model of protons and neutrons, because this was like an electric area, so I wanted to do like a floor pattern that reminded me of like the models that I used to see in chemistry class of how different atoms were set up, so I thought that would be kind of like a cool little touch. But as far as the newer Pokemon games go, I wish they would introduce like difficulty systems like easy, medium, and hard mode into the game, so it would be more fun and challenging for adults, because I've heard from a lot of people that the games are like way too easy now, and they hold your hand, especially with things like experience share and whatnot. But overall, I really do love Pokemon as a franchise, and I'm friends with a lot of people who are Poketubers, because I feel like Poketubers are just like very similar people to me because they're like Nintendo Let's Players pretty much, but just focusing on one Nintendo IP. And it's definitely a game franchise I would like to get more into as far as like streaming goes, because I think it's a really fun game to play on stream. And when I have people in chat like helping me play, I feel like I'm able to get through it better and I get less frustrated at the game. Because like, not frustrated, but like I can know about all the little secrets and like have a complete experience. But that can be today's comment question of the day. How do you feel about Pokemon, and like what is your Pokemon experience? Because I know that there's people out there who have like thousands of hours into the game. Like one of my past roommates, Squill, put in like over 1,000 hours into Pokemon X and Y because he played the game competitively. So he was always just like IV training and doing tons of like weird stuff that I didn't even understand. He's explained it to me quite a few times, which has given me even better knowledge about the game, which is why I know it a bit more in depth, even though I haven't played a lot of them myself. I've had lots of conversations about the games, and I like follow all the Pokemon news because I watch all the Nintendo Directs and I keep up with like all the stuff with Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I've watched a lot of coverage of other games. So like I'm still a Nintendo fan, so I still kind of keep up with Pokemon culture in a way. So at this point in building, I was getting kind of tired of working on the laboratory section, so I'm just finishing like the overall shell of this section of the laboratory, and then for the rest of the episode, I'm going to focus on the outdoor biomes, because doing the outdoor sections goes by way more quickly because I don't have to build the structures and put in like all the tons of little tiny details. Like all I have to do is just add nature and add the Pokemon. So we're going to get a lot more finished in the rest of this episode since we're working on all the outdoor stuff. But in this section, as it's spiraling up, I'm just going to have like different Pikachus just like floating around. And I'll probably have some like pictures on the walls to make it seem like there's some Pokemon in boxes, or I don't know. If anybody has any ideas that knows Pokemon better than I do, leave them down in the comment section below because I could definitely use it. Alright, so here's the trick. So this building looks really ugly from the outside is because of the shape and all the overlapping pieces. So I'm just going to build another building around it to hide the ugliness. That's the best thing about Planet Coasters. If anything just looks ugly, just completely cover it with something else. You can always encapsulate it or hide anything that looks weird. And the next section of the ride that we're going to work on is the forest section. So maybe it can be like the Viridian Forest. We'll have some bug Pokemon, flying, grass, normal type Pokemon, like a good variety, but make them all seem like they would be Pokemon that would live with each other. And then we have a small little pond that we'll put like a little bit of Magikarp in that are like shooting water out of their mouths. I don't know, something cute like that. Making forest is super easy though, because all you have to do is dot trees and rocks and bushes and it comes together really, really quickly. Just gotta have good spacing. Realistic spacing is really important too. But the thing is, I don't think there is really any such thing as realistic spacing in nature. Like it can be super random, so overall it doesn't matter too much. So some of the Pokemon we're using here are Pidgeotto, Scyther, Metapod, Beedrills, Slowpokes, got some Bulbasaurs, a Venusaur even. It's pretty lit. It's going down in the DMs. And then the next section is going to be a cave section, which I filled with Geodudes and Zubats. It's going to be short and sweet, but it'll be a cool transition into the next Volcano styled section, where we're just going to have a bunch of fire Pokemon, because I have a lot of fire Pokemon to work with in this repertoire. Also, I'm just like so excited about that Pokemon Direct tomorrow. Like, what do you guys think they're going to announce? I have some hypotheses. I think it could be a new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game. I mean, the chances of that are probably pretty low. Possibly something about the new Pokemon Sleep game that they announced. I don't know if that's like something they're going to give a lot more focus towards, but it could be about that. It could be a third game to the Pokemon Sword and Shield franchise. So Pokemon Gun, or Pokemon Bow and Arrow, or Pokemon Grenade. Lots of options. I think Bruno Mars would endorse the Grenade one. The best case scenario is if it was a Pokemon Snap ride for the Switch, because people would be looking up Pokemon Snap the day after I post a Pokemon Snap Planet Coaster video, so that would literally be like God just giving me views, which would be phenomenal. If that's what happens, what's up? I predicted it. How are you guys doing, you new viewers that are finding this video through the Pokemon Snap announcement? What's poppin'? What's good? Okay, so let's talk about this Volcano section for a bit. We have a lot of good Pokemon. So we have Charmanders, Charizard, Dragonite, Growlithe, Flareon, some little duck dude that is covered in fire. I have no clue what his name is. Got Ponyta. I have him a Champ, which I feel like a fighting area kind of works for this area, even though I'm not sure if fighting Pokemon like the heat. But they bring the heat, so they're going to be a part of the heat. And then of course we also have a couple of Ghostbusters ghosts that are fire ghosts, which work perfectly in my opinion. And then we're going to add lots of cool fire and lava effects. And what I'm going to do for most of these fire Pokemon is I'm just going to have it so whenever you take a picture of them, it'll make them like covered in fire, because there's also like fire options. I think the Ho-Oh is going to be like the coolest. And then I'm also going to put some like little flares at the end of the Dragonite tails to make them feel like a little bit more lifelike. Because a few of these animatronics move, like the Electabuzz back in the laboratory, and the Dragonite, and the Charizard also moves. But for the most part, none of them move, unfortunately. Also, this is probably something else that's really bad to admit, but I've never seen Ghostbusters. I feel so bad. I probably should watch that movie. And the reason I haven't gone back and decorated the Spider-Man ride yet is I still haven't seen Homecoming and Far From Home, and I want to watch those first so I can like make sure to use, because most people said I should use Mysterio, I think that's his name, as the villain, which is from Far From Home, I think. So I'm gonna have to watch those movies before I finish that, but it's okay. There's enough other things to do until I do that. And now we have our small little water hole. There's not a lot of space for these Pokemon to swim around, but that's kind of what we had to do. It's alright. It's the Pokemon pond. It's adorable. And we have some Vaporeons, a Blastoise, a Gyarados, some Ampharos, I think is the like turtle thingies. And then we have these like Pokemon with the shells on their tails. I actually don't know their name, so we're gonna call them Shelly. And Shelly is a nice woman. And in this area, we're gonna be able to do tons of cool like water effects and like water gun and like all of those for all the water moves for these Pokemon. And then we have a little school of Magikarp just all swimming around together, being good friends. And then we have this transition cave that goes from the volcano to this pond. And I wanted to do something in there, so I decided to fill it with crystals, and it's going to be a little Snorlax cave. So we're going to have some cute little sleeping Snorlaxes inside, and it's going to be so dang wholesome. I got these crystals off of the Steam Workshop as well, and I love them as pieces. Like, they just look so good. You can make a cave look so much more interesting by making it more crystalline. Speaking of cave, the other cave section wasn't decorated enough either, so I went back and added some more rocks and stalagmites and stalactites, which I think stalactite is one of my favorite words in the English language. Something else I'm going to have to go back and do is I need to go through all the track pieces and change the trajectory of the cart and have it pointed at different things, so it's like looking at the right objects at the right times, because some of the Pokemon aren't quite in the field of vision, but if it's moving around you'll be able to see everything. And we're also going to add the targets in a second, because it is a target shooting ride, and in my opinion the targets do kind of take away from like the immersion of the environment, but it is a target shooting ride, so you gotta do what you gotta do. If there's no targets, then it kind of defeats the purpose. It's just a car ride at that point, which would probably still be cool, but the whole point of this ride is to kind of show off of the interactive target shooting game in Planet Coaster, which is freaking awesome. So the other thing that makes me happy is us doing all the decorating for this ride is also pretty much us decorating the coaster that we built last episode. So we're kind of knocking out two birds with one stone by doing this, and we're completely finishing up this area. And I can't wait to make like videos of all these rides. On top of, I still haven't made the Zelda coaster video, which I've been kind of holding off on that because I wanted to wait until like this ride was done as well, so I could release a couple like really hype Planet Coaster videos around the same time to like start getting even more people excited about this theme park around the same time and just like really get the ball rolling. So we'll see if that works. It's all part of my mischievous plan. That's not actually mischievous, but it just makes it sound cooler if I say that it is. So now we're going to go through and add targets for all the Pokemon that we have in this ride so far, and that is going to be all the decorations we're going to do for today. In the next episode, I'm going to continue working on this ride and some of the other stuff in the area. Kind of just that Pokemon area. I want to build a station for our dueling RMC coasters and make it sort of like a Pokemon gym. We'll see how that goes. I have some kind of wild ideas, but hopefully I have like the appropriate amount of space to do it, because it's going to be quite a challenge. And then also, if you're interested in seeing more Planet Coaster from me, I started this new challenge series where I'm building a tiny park. I'm building a very, very compact but very, very detailed theme park at the same time. So imagine me building the ultimate theme park, but in a 20th of the amount of space. It's pretty cool, and it's a much shorter series overall. This is a much longer commitment than that series is. But I'll put that on the end card. Anyways, before we end this episode, I want to ride this ride, or like what we have done so far. I didn't connect all the targets. The only targets that are connected are the first room of the laboratory. I was just running out of time and I just wanted to finish working on this ride for a bit, so that's all I got done, but we got a lot done in this episode, so I'm not too mad about it. I'm also only going to have my background music on, but when the ride is actually finished, I want to put Pokemon music in the environments as well, because I feel like that will kind of like finalize the immersion process for this ride, especially also adding like ambience and like the Pokemon sound effects, because that's something else that'll happen is every time you shoot the targets, you'll hear the sound effect from that Pokemon, so that's really what's going to bring all of this together. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and shut up and just allow you guys to enjoy the experience of riding this so far. Thank you all for watching this episode though. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button because it helps me out a ton. If you're looking forward to more episodes of the series, hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when I post more videos. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching and have a fantastic day.